have a couple people at least are diehard people. This will be a lot of fun. So I'd love to start with Tom. Well, everybody in the group already knows Collier from other interviews. She has Three Wishes Freestyles, and you are located in Wellington. She's been doing a lot of. You guys just started the light Friday night under the lights. It's called.
Yes.
Yes, yes. So you're having the first one was it last week?
It was 2 weeks ago, but I had my first rider this past Friday. So it was cold, but a lot of fun.
Hmm. How did your rider do? I know you messaged me and I just barely, I wasn't able to see it, but
Her Grand Prix is still like a work in progress. So she was first to go in the freestyles. And so I said, don't worry about the scores, just go have fun. Because we had changed half of her music the week before.
Mhm.
Her coach had said, you need a new floor plan. So she went it and we had a judge give us a 75. She, was really thrilled with the ride. So we are gonna redo it or not redo it. We're gonna try again on week 5. So
Cool.
it was a good run through, I
Yeah,
think it was a fun time for her.
that's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah,
It's definitely a process, isn't it? I'm
always.
I'm sure we will talk about that with Tom as well. And so for those of you who don't know Tom, I want him to give a little bit of a your background in freestyle music. So you mostly just do the freestyle music composition, right? Do you
Yeah,
work with the
yeah,
choreography at all, or you work with a freestyle designer who creates choreography ahead of time?
yeah. I always receive the video of the floor plan. So yeah, I don't really get involved too much with the floor plan unless when we're doing the music, there needs to be changes that, if the phrasing of the music needs adjusting, um, then I'll get involved. But usually it is just a case of receiving the video and working with that
Yeah.
from the
Did
writer.
you what made you want to get involved with dressage freestyle? Were you doing other types of musical composition before that, or was it from wanting
Yeah.
to create music for horses?
Yeah, I was studying music and I have passion for film music, and that was kind of what I was studying in my third year at uni. It was film composition,
Mhm.
and so yeah, and then I saw some dressage, and it was using film music, so that was kind of what sort of piqued my interest. And yeah, I got into it, met some local riders, and started composing music for them, and it kind of just led from there. And I think it was just lucky there were certain riders coming up at the time, and my name was passed around, and I just had a bit of luck, and that was that really. It was
That's
kind of a random thing, and I was enjoying it, so I just carried on doing it.
Have you ever ridden a horse yourself?
I have ridden, but yeah, well, I've ridden. I mean, I've been on a horse and hacked and things like that, but it's
Mhm.
I've not had any lessons as such.
Mhm. But at least you know like what it feels like and what
Yeah, kind
uh,
of. Yeah,
power you're trying to
yeah, yeah.
convey. That's awesome. Yeah, I love that your background is in trying to do film composite,
Mhm.
soundtracks because that's definitely, I think, the most dramatic freestyles that
Yeah.
that I've seen are definitely the ones that remind you of the emotion of a movie. So that's really great. So when you started, like, as I know I've read your recent riders, your, Olympic up, big time riders like Carl Hester. You did his for the
Mhm.
recent Olympics, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And is it Charlotte was on your
Mhm.
website as well?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Who were your first names, and were you nervous when you were starting to
Yeah.
do freestyles?
First rider I did. So there used to be a thing called Horse Hero.
Hmm.
This was like back in the day when YouTube wasn't really a thing, and there was a website, and it was horse training videos, like a subscription thing.
Hmm.
And I got in touch with the lady that ran the website, and she was doing some videos with Michael Eilberg. This was back in sort of 2010,
Hmm.
and so he was the first Grand Prix rider that I worked with, and composed a piece for him. It's called Vanquish. I think it's online somewhere. Probably find it if you Google it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the first one. And then yeah, from that it was yeah, it just kind of went from there. But I work with levels, all riders, all levels. It's not just Grand Prix, it's novice, elementary, all the way through the levels. Um, so
Yeah, I
yeah.
was gonna ask you that. I mean, you probably now specifically do, I mean, you you know, probably very high profile, so people want you to do their high level freestyles, but you're still willing to work with any
Sure,
level.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. I love working with, yeah, it doesn't matter if it's Grand Prix, PSG, medium, advanced medium. I like it all really. Yeah,
That's
it's good.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so great. And so Collier, you and Tom have joined up in Wellington for this trip. And so you're working individually with riders. And so like like together you're doing the choreography and also helping like think of music ideas. And then Tom, are you actually composing and creating music here? Or is that something, how long of a process is that for you for most of these riders?
Yeah, it's I won't be doing the music in Wellington. I have a studio back in the UK. So I have a laptop here with me so we can listen to music, make playlists, try music out with the riders in the arena. But yeah, we won't put the music together here because it kind of takes a while. You've got to do it properly.
Get creative.
Yeah, you got to get in the, yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah. Mhm.
yeah. So, but you can play music, see what it looks like with the horse. Playing it in the arena is a good thing, and the rider can ride to it and see how they feel to it, and yeah, and then you just get feedback and figure it out. But yeah, it's a process, isn't it? Like figuring out what music to use, what theme to use for the horse, for the rider, for the owner, for the everyone who wants to have a say on it. You've got to figure it out and make everyone happy, and it's a process, isn't it?
It's definitely a process. I mean, before we jumped on, we were just bouncing ideas around for a couple of horse and rider combos that Tom's working with tomorrow. And, we are very lucky that we have a very similar mindset on music and what we like. And so, I think two heads are better than one when coming up with ideas and group thinking freestyles into existence. So it's definitely all of what he said. And then also like, okay, well, is this going to go to a CDI? Maybe this will go to a World Cup finals. Does it have to be like recognizable? Does it have to be new? Like there's all kinds of different considerations that we kind of fling mud at a wall and see what sticks a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a subjective topic. So, you can advise to a point, but if you have to just go with, you have to kind of factor in everything, ultimately the horse is the main thing. You want to get music that suits the horse and try and find out the character of the horse, speak to the rider, speak to the owners, everyone involved, and try and figure out the best music for all those factors. Yeah.
You guys must have the longest playlists to play from on your, let's see, which one are we going to go down the rabbit hole with?
Exactly. No, my family never wants to hear my phone on shuffle because it like jumps from all kinds of genres. It's terrible.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And you, I was gonna ask, what are you, do you kind of keep in mind like trends? I know that after the Olympics, Collier and I had kind of chatted about like it was very interesting to see like certain things seem to be pretty common throughout the whole, for most of the riders, from like 5 years ago to 10 years ago. I mean, it's just such a different shift. So do you kind of keep that in mind? Do you think that the judges necessary, it's more of a rider preference, or do you kind of know like what the judges are really like liking at the time? It seemed like Carl's ride was more orchestral, right? Is and that I really liked in comparison to some of the, you know, the more modern trend hip hop, type, which is really fun, but it seemed at the Olympics like a lot of people were doing that in their own way. So it's kind of nice to have that like back and forth, but just depending on like, I don't know if you like kind of see some current trends or different directions that you're kind of going or being creative with the music.
Yeah, do you have to judge that?
I mean, I think at least, I mean, it's interesting, right? Because we're in different markets 95% of the time, and you're 90% of the time, right? So I think the UK and the European market, he's got more of a handle on, and I, can kind of see what's going on in the US. I think in the US, it's really interesting. We've got a lot of, and I think to a certain extent, because you've got a writer doing it, lots of 80s, like 70s and 80s and oldies. Like Becky Moody just had a Beatles freestyle debut. Like I think that's, coming in vogue. I think there's still a lot of pop and like I've seen a lot of Dua Lipa down here.
Yeah, there's a lot of pop
music.
I think when I started doing it, it was probably more kind of orchestral was kind of more of a thing, and film music, like epic, emotive kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then definitely more pop music now. There's a lot more requests for, like you say, 80s, 70s kind of era.
We're campaigning for film music to come back.
Yeah, we need to,
Yeah,
we need to bring it back. Yeah. Yeah. But also like trends kind of follow what's popular in like pop culture just generally. So like, you know, Wicked is coming in, and whatever's like popular in the charts will
be popular in
be
freestyle.
trendy, and then this kind of follows that, or whatever TV show is being watched, go to the soundtrack. And you know, we had a Game of Thrones era.
Yep.
And all the Disney stuff. I mean, that's
Pirates of the Caribbean. Everybody
We were
was
just talking about that the other day.
But you know, it's fun. It's fun to see the classic ones though. Like they're really hot for a while, and then when they come back later, it's kind of fun. You know, like I had an old throwback to like, you know, Robin Hood, you know, with like Kevin Costner, and you remember like a lot of the writers used that way back, and then I've kind of like seen that recently, or like Gladiator just came out with a new, you know, a follow-up movie, which the soundtrack sounded almost like identical to the first one. I was listening to it kind of excited to see if there'd be something new, and I was like, oh, it's kind of just a remake of the same old thing. But yeah, that's so cool. I love it. When you have your big riders like you know, like at the Olympics, do you get to go and watch, or do you mostly just kind of watch from online?
Of course, I can go. I find it extremely stressful being there, especially rooted in like a seat and having to watch is probably one of the most stressful things, because you've kind of worked with this floor plan of music for quite a number of months, and
you know if they're all
so watching is not good. I think usually if I'm at a show, I like to be on foot so I can just pace around like the arena. So and just keep walking. Until I hear the end. But no, I like to watch things. I do like to watch stuff, but usually afterwards. I don't know, that's just the thing. It's just very stressful.
I can imagine. Yeah, it is pretty stressful.
Yeah. And I don't want to I always think my presence is going to be stressful for the rider as well. It's like, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be right there watching. It's like
no pressure.
Pressure. I always think that. Maybe that's just silly, but
like they have to live.
That's how I'd feel if I was reading. It's a projection of my insecurities.
How long, like in general, how long does it take you to create these really like, you know, high profile freestyles? I mean, I know everyone's different, but what is your you know, what's the amount of length of time that you really like to work with a project?
I think there probably is, like, you could probably have too long, but I think I never get much time really anyway for freestyles. It's usually kind of quite last minute, which has its, you know, benefits, but also, you know, it's kind of, you know, a bit rushed sometimes. But I think you can have too long because you can overthink things. So sometimes having a shorter space of time is better because you have to be more decisive. But usually it is quite, you know, short time to work on stuff.
But short for you though, to create something like that, like what is short? Like a month,
so
a week?
A few weeks. I just did one like in a couple of weeks, which was, you know, that's probably pushing it for a Grand Prix. But if you have like a month to 2 months is nice. That's good.
You find
you want to have time to practice it, you know, and for the rider to make adjustments. You know, you were just saying you had like 16 versions of something. Or getting to that double figures of
you refine your. I mean, I think at least, you know, I think when you get to the CDI Grand Prix riders, I feel like there's those that plan and they tell you like, hey, I'm getting on your list like months in advance because I want to be able to make this correct, practice, refine, and then show. And then there's like oh my gosh, I need this in 2 weeks because I like just now need a freestyle, just realized I need this. And so we have to be, I mean, I am not a composer, so it's a little bit easier once we find music, but for Tom, he's got to go create something out of nothing, which I think is like the world's coolest superpower. So, you know, 2-3 weeks is pretty short, I can imagine.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, again, like though, sometimes if you're creating the music from scratch, it can if it's original, it can kind of be a bit easier because you just start and you can do it. Sometimes finding stuff is hard, you know, especially finding stuff that hasn't been used too much. And again, fitting all the factors we spoke about before, it can be really hard to do that. Especially if no one really knows what they want, you know, so you just have to, you know, figure it out. It's a puzzle.
Yes.
It's a puzzle. I always think it's like a jigsaw, and you just got to find all the pieces, and then actually putting it together is often the sort of
The tricky bit.
Yeah, the tricky bit, but almost finding the bits is almost the tricky bit, you know, and then piecing it all together is once you've got the pieces, you just have to figure out how it all goes.
Yeah.
Definitely the satisfying part.
Yeah. But again, with time, yeah, riders need to practice, and you know, if they're riding a floor plan at home and then they go and ride in an arena, it's going to be different. Maybe the timing's slightly different, maybe quicker at a show. Yeah. So you might need to make adjustments to that. So
yeah,
multiple versions are always happening.
Oh, it's perfect. I love it. No, we definitely we have some people here from Florida, of course, and Canada. So we've got California, yeah, Florida. Hello, everybody. Donna is here, Holly, Sylvia, Helen, Janet. I recognize most of you guys. And if you have any questions for Tom and Collier, just type them in the side. I can see them as we're going. And yeah, I was going to ask, what's your, like, I'm sure you've had many, many memorable freestyles that you've created, but like, go ahead and take us through a really like cool experience, you know, working with a top name rider that was like an enjoyable experience for you, or something that was really interesting, or that like came together really nice. I think people would just love to hear some fun stories of, you know, your experiences doing freestyle, creating the music. I mean, it's so amazing. It's just a different process.
No, it's you.
Yeah.
Probably my personal favorite would probably be Rio Olympics, just because the pressure for Charlotte to kind of win again, like the second time in a row, was kind of on. The first time the pressure wasn't really on as much, but the second time I kind of felt the pressure. So, and also the music was fun to do for Rio, you know, all the different rhythms and things was really good to create that music. So
now
that's probably my favorite one. Yeah.
Her first big freestyle, that was the soundtrack, right? From How to Train Your Dragon. Is that the one that you're talking about? Or in
no,
what
no.
In
That was a
Rio?
good one too. But yeah, the Rio Olympics, it was an original composition, but it was just heavily sort of inspired by the film Rio.
Oh, okay.
It was originally composed music. Yeah. So it had all the samba rhythms in it and things like that, specific to the place. So yeah, and she just wrote it perfectly. I think if you if you can find the video performance of that, it was literally perfect. And
did you practice that one a lot?
No, not really. No, because we didn't have time. But in a way, that's kind of how it always is, you know. And just the pressure, ramp the pressure right up to the boiling point, and then just go. So. Yeah.
I noticed they don't share like I think it must be because the Olympics being like a lot of the Olympic videos, you can't always get them on YouTube, which is so annoying, you know. So like some of the best freestyles that I want to share in the group that we're thinking on our head, sometimes I just can't find them, you know. It's like because of I'm sure the rights, you know, the video rights. So any of the freestyles that we kind of mention, or your favorites, if you or Collier, you guys can share the links to the videos that you want people to watch, because they'll watch them later.
Rio's, I'll send you the Rio one. I think that's on YouTube.
Yeah, if you can just pop it in the comments after, that way everyone can kind of see a variety of all the different freestyles that he's done. That'd be really cool. Janet says she's not getting the feed, it's spinning circles. I think everybody else is okay. So if anybody else is having trouble, well, they'll probably say something. Ashley asked, how did you get into making freestyles? We actually talked about that at the beginning of the interview.
That's my mom.
Is that your mom? Okay.
Tom can rehash it later when he sees her.
Yeah. She must have just popped in here. That's pretty funny. I love it. Yeah. Okay. So I was going to ask you, keeping in mind that a lot of the people that are on here are just kind of like learning how to make their own freestyles. Do you have any like little things that you would suggest, like for people who really are not techie at all and they're just doing it like at home, cropping their own music, things that you find to be really important, or that you encourage them to like keep in mind for creating their freestyles? I think that would be really helpful from your perspective, because I know everything that you do is going to be way over everyone, so except they're going to be very inspired by everything for sure.
I mean, we've talked a lot about this, but I think one of the biggest things for people making their own is to use complete musical phrases before they cut their music and go to a different song or a different gate. And that's like, saying you're going to cut a song halfway through a chorus, right? Like your ear can kind of hear when the phrasing's complete before the new phrasing starts. And so, when you're building your own freestyles, making sure you've got complete musical phrasing before you move on, I think is really, really important, because that just helps make things tidy as you create your own. I think that's one of the biggest pieces.
Yeah. And maybe just stay away from too much singing.
Yeah.
You say?
Yeah.
Just because that can make chopping stuff difficult. So
Yeah.
instrumental stuff.
Yeah.
Unless you get a little bit more advanced and you can start layering it. But if you're really basic, you want to stick to instrumental stuff. And maybe if you are like, if it is literally just walk, trot, canter, or even if it's just 2 gates, whatever, just keep it to 3 tracks or 2 tracks. Don't overcomplicate it. Yeah.
And then
and just music that is nice to write to. I think if you enjoy writing to the music, then it's nice. You don't need too many cuts in the music if it's if you just starting out. You just as long as the music's pleasant to listen to and suits the horse, then
when I think like if people go back and like watch like the How to Train Your Dragon freestyle, I think you've got like 2 or 3 themes in there. Like you didn't, and you had like what 2 movies to choose from at the point. Like simplify, keep it simple, stupid, right? Like it's that kind of mentality, and you can over-engineer things to death. I've done it many a time, and then you take it back and you walk it back. But I think keeping it simple, keeping it to, if you're doing pop, like you said, like 3 songs, right? Or maybe 2 for trot or something, right? Like don't engineer it is important.
Have you?
I'd say also probably sticking to stuff like well-known stuff as well. I would say if you're just starting out, just because I think judges will appreciate that more. Because they'll just instantly engage with it.
And try not to use karaoke tracks if you're trying to find pop. Like because we've found and sourced our music all over the place. But like for people that are making, you can go on YouTube and you can say Dua Lipa, whatever song, master instrumentals, and like someone will have a version that's not the karaoke, but that's closer to the original. That sounds pretty good, that they can then download or find, and they can use that. So you're not using the karaoke tracks that I think
with the background vocals. They're so terrible.
Yes, exactly. So I mean, there's certainly ways to find, better music.
Maybe classical music, maybe steer clear of like classical music, just because it's
tricky to edit sometimes.
Tricky.
And the tempos kind of can change a little bit as well. Even if it's supposed to be the same tempo, it can alter a little bit,
Well, the movements usually change a lot too in classical. Like I had a client last year that did a 4th level. She was dead set on using Vivaldi's 4 Seasons, and that was a booger to put together. And so we're not using it this year. But it's I think classical, old school classical, maybe more modern classical. I don't know. Would be better. But old school classical, maybe not.
It is a little tricky, that's for sure. what are your are you working on some current projects like that you're really excited about? Or are you are most of your well-known type riders that you create for, are their freestyles kind of like done right now? Or are they like, what's the season over in Europe? Like I know like right now we're really big, obviously in Florida for the show season, but what is it like over in the UK as far as the seasonal times?
Yeah, there's always loads going on, because we have British Dressage, which is basically runs up. It basically has loads of competitions and then culminates in a national sort of championship in September. So all the qualifications, all the regionals are happening all year. So that's going on, and then you've got sort of the international stuff as well. But in the UK, yeah, it's usually the affiliated stuff, which is British Dressage, or the regionals, which happen in the different counties and things like that. So that's the main focus for sort of the lower levels and well, all the levels really.
Okay, Susan just asked, what was the third part? She said to search for music, like you said on YouTube, search for the artist, song, and what did you say? I think you said
I'll respond to her. I'll type it out.
Yeah,
Master instrumentals. Yeah.
master instrumentals. That's what she said. Yeah.
It
Yes.
won't populate 100% of the time, but most of the time people will upload something that's fairly close to it. That you can then go.
Like especially really popular music.
Yes, and Tom's probably cringing hearing all this.
Yeah. No,
These are all our little hacks.
It's better than a karaoke. Yeah. It is definitely.
It's the lesser two evils.
Yeah. Let's stick to film music.
Yeah, I agree.
Because then you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, exactly.
I whenever I think about well, who would be your favorite film composer? I mean, of course, I think everybody would know who like Hans Zimmer is, and like that's kind of what we're talking about is like film scores, like for movie soundtracks. Like who are some of your favorites? I know I really like to follow that Thomas Bergeson. Is that how you say his person? I don't know if he necessarily does it for movies, but his is very much that epic style.
The Carol.
The Christmas, yeah. Well, I think we've done
a couple of films, hasn't he? I think with Two Steps and Well, I think they did a couple of weird films, but yeah.
He's good.
No, he's awesome, yeah. They did trailer music, didn't they? It was like they did music and it was for trailers, and then they've just become this big thing. I think they're finished there now. I think they've disbanded and doing their own.
Heard anything. I mean, we both have a crush on Bear McCreary.
Who?
Like we love awesome, his work. He's done Outlander, Battlestar Galactica,
yeah.
Power, God of War, Black Sails. I adore his stuff. I think we both like John Powell a lot.
John Powell, Hans Zimmer. I like James Newton Howard for strings. Thomas Newman is also really nice. There's loads. There's loads. I think for me, Hans Zimmer was probably the one when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Like this is like a god.
Yeah.
And then, there's loads. James Newton Howard is, I guess, for me for strings is pretty clever at doing all that and just the sweeping strings but there's so many now, so many great ones.
There's so many, and they all have. Once you start listening to their portfolio, they kind of each have their certain sounds. What they like to do, and like they'll obviously evolve and change, but like right now Hans obviously he's got all the synths, and that may change. He may reinvent the sound and go somewhere else, but there's that. You said who did you say for strings? I can't remember. Thank you, James Newton Howard for strings. I mean, there's you kind of can, like, I know when I look at artists, I'm like, okay, this may sound like XYZ other pieces of his work, so I'm gonna listen to it because I might like it. You kind of can get a feel for what they like.
Yeah. When you were a kid, was there like a movie or like something like were you really young when you wanted to like start composing music, or kind of what started your journey on that? Like you must have been fairly young when you got interested.
Yeah. Well, I had this thing where I used to go to the cinema as a kid, watch a film, and then after the film, no one could speak to me. I just was like this weird, don't talk to me. I was just in my own head. I'm not like that, thankfully, but yeah, I was really, like, I was just so engrossed in it, and it was usually the music that did it. I
Mhm.
think Titanic for me
Really?
was yeah,
Okay.
very sort of, yeah.
All right.
I don't know. It was just about, it was intense. Wasn't it? I watched that recently, and it was like, it's hard. You have to like have a few days, don't you, just to chill. It's intense. It's intense.
I
It
It's an
just,
is.
intense film.
it is. I
But yeah,
stopped
the
it
music for
30
that.
minutes before it ends.
Oh, really? Yeah, yeah.
Definitely.
It's hard. But yeah, the music for that was, so that was, oh, what's his name? James Horner.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
he's another one that well,
It's
he
very
passed away.
unique. Yeah, when it first came out, like the sounds and the style he had seemed very unique for that. That made it so special. You
It was
know,
just, and yeah, just seriously emotional.
Mhm.
Yeah. So as a kid, I was just really like, I don't know, affected by all that kind of thing. So,
Mhm.
so yeah, from a young age, I think, yeah, film music was always something that I sort of was attached to, sort of like spoke to me. And I love films as well.
But I
So
think
yeah,
that translates really well over to freestyles because
yeah,
what you're
totally.
doing is a 6-minute movie essentially.
Yeah, yeah. And it kind of, you're doing music to an image essentially. So and telling a story and things
Mhm.
like that with the movements of the horse and
Very similar.
kind of all the same kind of things, really.
what's your favorite move, like dressage movement? Like, do you feel that like there's a certain part that's more dramatic to you that you connect with, or movements that you like to create the music for more than others? Or is it just kind of the
Mm.
whole thing?
For me, I think Passage is probably. I think if you've got really good Passage music, I think a Grand Prix, but obviously a Grand Prix, um, you can have a really good test. I don't know. I think it's just a good movement to kind of
Yeah.
Yeah.
have. But Cantor's
Cantor's good.
has a good rhythm to it.
I really like the final center line. Like that's where you bring it home, right?
Yeah.
And whether that is like
Passage.
Passage,
Yeah.
Passage,
Yeah.
Spatial, like like you saw in Matilda's Friday Night Lights, right? Hers is like this big build up to the final like ending, and it's all pure Passage. And when we initially listened to that music, we're like, okay, that's our final center line, and how do we back into that? And so for me, I really like final center lines. Usually with pure Passage, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
final
Yeah.
center lines.
I love
Mhm.
it. Are you still doing music, like thinking of doing stuff for films? I mean, are you still on that track, or are you just basically focusing on freestyles?
It's pretty much 100% freestyles at the minute. Yeah, I did a couple of short films about 10 years ago, but yeah, it is just freestyles at the moment. Yeah, yeah.
Well, hey, if you get really good at it, it is. It's like little 6-minute movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it keeps it interesting because it is. It's like new riders, new horses. It's a different vibe and different music. So I'm sure it stays fairly interesting for you. I think that's really it's so much fun. And do you like what's your kind of work schedule? Are you do you like to stay on your computer for like kind of do you get in the zone and you're on there for a long periods of time, or are you kind of more of like work on it, step away, work on it, step away?
Yeah, there's a lot of procrastinating for me. I don't know about you. Like I do a lot of, if I get a job in and it's not kind of clear, I like to just pace around and think about it, go to the gym, think about it,
Mm-hmm.
come back, look at it, turn it off, think about it a
Take a
bit.
shower, think
And
about it.
eventually it does, it
Mhm.
comes eventually. But,
Mhm.
and I kind of like working, I'm a bit of a night owl, really.
Oh
I
yeah, I
work
get
in
text
the
that's
night.
like from 3 a.m. UK time. I'm like, dude.
Yeah, I can't really compose or anything sort of before the afternoon, and then really yeah, it's usually an evening thing for me. But yeah, I can work in that. It's usually emails and things at the start of the day, but yeah, there's a lot of thinking about stuff. I
Mhm.
feel like that's part of the process.
Mhm. And I think, I mean, even when you're thinking about like what music this rider is gonna
Yeah,
really want or have with their horse, I think whether you're selecting music for your own horse or for a client or building music, sometimes I'm like, okay, I can't think about this too hard, and then I just will put my phone on shuffle or go on a run or something, and then that's your brain's still consciously thinking about it, just kind of in the
yeah,
background. And
Mhm.
I feel like that's usually where we get better ideas than trying to force something.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because staring at a blank screen is a little bit,
It's gonna be terrible.
and a muted floor plan
It's
is
gonna be terrible.
it's kind of hard sometimes, but eventually you get that spark of information, inspiration. Sometimes it's just you experience something in the day, and then it's like, or you hear something and it just triggers a thing. You know, you could just hear a track or watch something or see something or hear about something, and it's like something like that happens. So.
Yeah, it's definitely the same with all types of art and writing.
Yeah.
I mean, usually,
Yeah.
usually you have that, oh, I need to finish this, and you, you do it like a day or two before it's due is sometimes better than like months in advance, because then you just continuously work on it over and over and over again.
Right.
So what a kind of variety of riders do you guys have during your visit? Do you have like a wide range, or are you at like kind of one barn in particular, or are you kind of barn hopping a little bit?
Well, this trip, it's kind of just.
I think it's just one barn.
With this is the first time, isn't it? So it's just kind of me coming over, figuring out, you know, seeing the people that we've worked with and that I work with, and just getting a feel for the place, and so yeah.
But you know, I think it's been good showing him around Wellington and you know, going to the showgrounds and seeing some of the freestyles and meeting people, and you know, I think that subsequent visits, and you know, this is kind of like, I don't know of any other designers that kind of partner up really, so it's kind of like a new thing, and people are like, oh, this is kind of cool, but we're not sure how it works, and you know, they're interested, and I think it's just creating that groundswell and saying, hey, you get two heads and we're kind of better than one most of the time, we like to think. So yeah, but this time around we've got you know, one barn, and then you know, hopefully we'll bop around to a couple others this week, and then you know, hopefully Tom will be back later in the spring, which would be really cool.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. So when you do your work with the riders, I remember Collier and I talked about this. I had a few people that had asked if they could audit online, because I thought you were doing like a clinic thing, but this is more personal, like private meetings with each horse and rider, and then so you're working individually with them, so it's not a public thing.
No, yeah. No, it's not like a demo. It's just it's more a personal private lesson and setup like that.
And that's just, I think, you know, with these CDI riders down here that Tom's working with, you know, just gives them ease of mind that they don't have to have an audience. We can just, you know, be open and honest and figure out their freestyle. Now, that's not to say that later on we wouldn't do something that's open where we would have auditors and kind of figure out a way to do that, which I think would be very cool, or demos. But
yeah, I think like a kind of, like a demo thing where you're able to show how the process works, how you two would do it together, and then inviting people that can come watch. That'd be great. And that would be good to have also online, because people could work with you. They don't have to be in Wellington to work with you. They can be from anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're brainstorming plans.
Yeah.
We'll keep you posted.
So yeah, if anybody who is in the group and is watching and they decide they want to hire you guys for freestyle, then they will know how to message you, Collier, obviously in the group. So I think that's really cool, and just being able to you know, have options. And I think a lot of it, you know, people generally do fairly well sometimes picking music okay, and then like doing their choreography okay, but they just get to like the music editing part, and that's like the more difficult part. And so like if they're able to have someone, you know, the whole team, you know, and just taking it to a higher level, especially if you're doing championships or higher level things, and you have that option, I think is amazing. I think it's really cool.
And especially, you know, in the US, now that we've got the US Equestrian Open, which is all freestyles. I mean, all the point system is based on that in the road up to LA 28. So, you know, I think that freestyles are gaining more and more momentum and having more and more weight in the US.
Yeah. Now, how are you seeing like with we were talking about the copyright issues too, like when you're dealing with these higher level riders, like when you're choosing music, do you kind of have a sense now of what music you're going to be able to use or not? Because I know that we were kind of talking about that before with like the Olympics, is that there's certain ones that are just a lot harder to get permission to use, right?
Yeah, there's so Olympics in Paris, they introduced a new like a system for getting the rights and publishing rights, and depending on what you're doing with the music, if you're just using the track itself or if you want to re-record it, there are different sort of things that you have to do. Yeah, just to cover the broadcasting of it, because it's quite a complicated business, really. Just like making sure everyone gets, what they're owed, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a fairly simple system. I think it was just implemented a bit late in the day because it suddenly came out sort of a couple of months before. But I think that will probably trickle down eventually. But yeah.
Probably don't know what music is going to be more difficult to use than others until you go. Can you like pre-enter it into the system to find out? Or is that something you have to do later?
Yeah, there is a database of pre-cleared tracks and things that you can you can literally just purchase. And they're not too expensive. But usually, I mean, if it doesn't have everything, and it might just be a version of the track that you want, and it might literally have the karaoke version, for example.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are ways. You just contact them and you put a request in, and then they do all the sort of work behind the scenes to contact the publishers and all that kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah, I know a lot of the lower levels, we don't really have to worry about it. Most writers don't have to worry about that at all. It's such a gray area sometimes. I'm always curious because when I wrote my book a few years ago, it was like that was the hardest part, was just to get answers on that. We even talked to the copyright lawyers, and they kind of didn't know even what dressage was or what's the music have to do with, so it's just, I find it very interesting, and I think it will keep refining over the years, but it's still kind of like, in the early stages.
Yeah.
But all right, let's see if anybody has any more. Oh, I see you answered her on there. Any more questions for Tom and Collier? Anything about musical freestyles, about his favorite freestyles? We kind of chatted about that. Do you have any other fun little stories you can share with us? I know we usually have a lot of people on here, but it was kind of last minute. So I know people will be curious later.
Yeah.
What was your first big freestyle? Like, what was your, like, oh my gosh, like actually made it to like the World Cup or something like that? What would you?
Yeah.
It was How to Train Your Dragon, wasn't it?
No. It was no, because 2012 was before then. So
yeah,
London was before that. So
that was the first one I knew that I heard.
What?
That was How to Train Your Dragon. That they were like, this is done by Tom Hunt, and that's like the first time I'd ever heard.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, so you didn't hear London 2012?
I did hear the London music. Yes, I did hear that, but I didn't know it was you at the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Was London also Charlotte, or was she your first big kind of rider, or did you have others before that you kind of made it to that level with?
Yeah, so like I mentioned at the start, I did some work with Michael Alberg. He was, there was a big rider at the time. But Charlotte was definitely,
yeah.
But I that was definitely the one. And then I think before 2012, though, we did a couple of Olympias. So they were probably like, because it was such a big event. That was probably like, a big thing. But I think London Olympics was where it kind of all came home, I think. And then it sort of went from there.
So you were you there pacing in the stands, or were you at home?
For that I actually had to sit and watch. Painful. Yeah, and it was a hot day as well, and it wasn't fun until the end.
Yeah.
But then you're like,
as soon as it ended, I just left and went out of the ground. Yeah, but that was hard actually watching it. It was very, very tense.
I'm sure I can't. I can't.
Because if you actually watch it, I don't know if you remember, but at the end the marks were so close, and I think she was PFing or something at the end, and it was really, really tight. I don't know, it was very close. And we didn't know if she'd won it until the scores came up.
So then it
Yeah,
comes
that was
down to the artistic marks.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was those pirouettes that did it.
Yeah, there you go.
The Big Ben
I
pirouettes.
love the Big Ben pirouettes. Those are clever.
Hmm.
So what are
Yeah,
some
you
fun
need my big
freestyles?
Ben, that doesn't help.
What are you working on now, Collier? Do you have some fun freestyles you're working on now that you're really excited about?
Yes, I've got a lot more coming up for Friday Night Lights down here in Wellington. I think a lot of riders are now like really interested in the US Equestrian Open. I think it's really great to be able to partner with Tom on some of his stuff and have a really great mentor in him as well. I think that's been really great and super. So we're also just gearing up for like everyone else, like regional seasons and spring show seasons. And, it's a lot of fun working with everyone across all levels. So, there's a lot coming up. And there's a lot of really fun music that I've got. So we'll see kind of what track.
So what have you learned from Tom this week that you're like, like what are your ahas from the master?
I need to drink a lot of tea apparently. And then I will have creative genius.
Yeah.
A lot of caffeine. No, honestly, it's just it's nice. It's really been nice to work with someone. And Tom and I have known each other for years, and we've been fortunate enough to, I think, collaborate on a few of the freestyles before.
Taste.
It's nice to meet someone that's got similar tastes and similar thoughts. And I'm not as technically trained as he is. Like, yes, I grew up in music, but I can't play the piano to save my life, right? Like, and so really working with someone that knows that, I think, has been really really cool to kind of shadow and listen in on. But yeah, it's nice to have someone to gut check, honestly. Like I showed him a freestyle that Matilda's that I was like, I just changed half this music and I'm still like over engineering it. And he's like, oh, that transition was fine. I'm like, good. Okay, I can breathe. So it's nice to have someone to gut check and it's been really great. So I'm excited to see what the rest of the week brings. I'm sure that all of our mud that we're flinging on walls will stick somehow, somewhere. And then I'll buy a lot of tea when he leaves.
Yeah. Got a happy tea.
Yes.
So do you play the piano, and then how many other instruments do you need to know?
Guitar is really the main thing, but that doesn't get used a lot really for freestyles.
Not yet.
Not yet, no, not yet. But yeah, it was guitar, but yeah, piano has kind of become the main thing, just because if you're composing music, it's like all keyboard stuff and all kind of translates. So yeah, I usually start on the piano actually.
Well, then you can
Just
usually
sit at the piano and play and figure stuff out. Change the instrument you're playing digitally with the piano, right? Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. If you're playing the piano, you can actually change it to or pretend
you can orchestrate with the different chords and intervals and things like that. So the guitar is where it started though.
Yeah. Did you still play a little acoustic guitar here and there or no?
Yeah, well, I used to be like, I wanted to be a singer-songwriter. That was what I wanted to be at uni. So this is after the Titanic phase. I wanted to. So at uni, I was doing gigs and things, and that was all I did. I was in a band and did that, and then realized I'm never going to get anywhere with it. Have that realization at the end of university when you're just like, this is not good. And then went back into the composing and stuff like that. So, and the guitar has kind of fallen away a little bit. But I still love guitars. I love electric guitar and everything like that. So making a racket is always fun.
Bring it back?
I think so. Well, obviously I do record guitars and things all the time, but it never starts on a guitar. It's usually just to add layers, or do a little solo or something like that.
Yeah.
It starts on the piano for me.
Yeah, that's so amazing to be able to add your own little flourishes to the music because you can.
I think I'd like to learn cello. Yeah. It'd be nice.
Seems
I
really
think
hard.
it probably is hard, yeah. But I think it'd be nice to have a cello, then record it and be able to record it. Maybe an electric cello, because then you can like adjust it.
Like Tina Go.
Yes. Although that would never be that good.
Play the hurdy-gurdy.
Oh yeah, I've got a ukulele.
Okay, you can do that.
That's quite good.
Yeah.
Maybe we could do a ukulele freestyle. Definitely.
Just wear your Hawaiian shirt when you go out.
You're gonna start getting bored and then doing all this really like experimental, progressive
Yeah.
stuff. Or
Yeah,
That's the future.
totally. Well, I think that's the fun part of composing and having, you know, the ability to play the different instruments is playing around and then you accidentally kind of stumble across something and you're like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna write that down and record that real fast. And you have the freedom to explore in the sandbox, so to speak. Really, really cool.
Yeah.
Have you done anything recording people's voices for your freestyle?
Yes, not
Yeah.
for freestyle, but I did last year. I did some stuff with she's called Julie Elvin, and she's like a vocalist. She does films and games as well. Like if you heard the Horizon, have you heard of that? The video game called Horizon Zero Dawn, and there's two of them. And so yeah, I've done some compositions with her. One of them isn't ready yet because I haven't had a chance to mix it properly, but one of them is actually on my website. So yeah, and I'd love to use her in a freestyle. That'd be great. That'd be really cool. Yeah, maybe just need to find the rider that wants that kind of singing, because it's usually, I mean, she does sing lyrics, but she's more of a sort of it's usually just melodies.
Yeah,
she has a really interesting vocal.
Yeah,
that would be really cool actually. Yeah, maybe one for the future, I think.
Yeah.
I've put my voice in freestyles occasionally, and I always hate listening. Yes.
Actually, yeah, we could do.
I love it.
It's a bad. Like I was trying to do. I've got someone that wanted to do like include Stevie Nicks, and I couldn't find like good masters of things. So I was like, I sent my husband a text. It's like I just tried to sing Edge of 17, and we're just not. It was not bad, but it was not Stevie Nicks, right? Like, so I, but I've done a little bit. Like, do you remember the Beauty and the Beast freestyle from last year? All that intro is me.
Oh, so you reading that the opening prologue?
Yes, in my really terrible British accent. Tom will never see it.
Let's share it in the comments below.
Yeah, then some backing vocals later on, but nothing like I need to get like an actual vocal recording set up. Usually it's just me.
Buy a little shield.
I don't have that. It's me into my little earbud mic going, and then cleaning it up.
Your mom just said, tell about Beauty and the Beast.
It is. So like literally before this, it was just the writer, Catherine Bateson, and me and my mom that knew about it, because I was like, no one will know that it was my voice at Global Seat. No, and now so there we go.
It sounded good to me.
Instagram.
Is it?
Yeah.
I'm gonna check this out.
No, I'm nowhere near, anyone that you've worked with, I think, but it's fun, right? Like it's fun to be able to add your own, like you said, flourishes, and to kind of say, oh, this would be really cool. Like I think one thing that's really interesting that I've been doing that people could maybe try if they're building their own is, say you're cantering and you've got some canter pirouettes, add the lyrics into some canter pirouettes, and then come out and go back to the instrumental. You can kind of add things here and there and add your own special flourishes to your own freestyle.
Yeah. No, I think that's really cool. People that have that talent is pretty neat. But, well, I don't see any extra questions, but I know we will have some later. So if anybody asks anything in particular, I will tag Collier. She'll see it. And if it's something that like, and Tom, if you want to be in the group, like happy to have you in the group.
Yeah.
I won't go crazy tagging you on stuff, but if you wanted to, Collier can also forward questions to you as well that we have, because this is a great group who will help spread the word about what you guys are doing and sharing everything. And you've definitely got lots of fans in the group. Everyone was super excited that you guys were going to be in here. So I know there'll be a lot of people on the replay to watch it later. I'll send it out to my email list. I have a couple thousand people on my email list for freestyle stuff. So I sent it out this morning, and then I'll send the replay link out tomorrow to boost it up a little bit.
You probably can. Janet had a really interesting question.
Where is she?
Unusual percussion.
Okay, here we go. Yeah.
So what is it? Unusual percussion.
Sting hits and unusual ones. Is there any way to incorporate unusual beats into freestyle?
Yeah, of course. I mean, so you
if
have
the horse can carry them.
Yeah. So you have a tempo, and then you can have any kind of rhythm you want, as long as it's not too visually, off-putting, and the rider might not. Yeah, but it's like a good example of that was for Rio when we did the samba beats, because it's a quite a intense percussive layers and things like that. So yeah, you can, as long as the tempo is correct, you can play around with the rhythm. I think that's what she's asking. If you can have different rhythms and things, as long as it's as long as the tempo is correct, so you can. And it's not too busy. I mean, again, that would be rider preference and horse preference.
Yeah, I think as long as it doesn't make like the horse look too busy or syncopation. Yes, I mean, I've got some that hopefully will come out at some point this year. They've got a lot of syncopation in it. But the horse is very steady in all of his gaits, and so I think as long as you've got the steadiness and, like you said, the tempo that's correct, and it doesn't override or overwhelm the horse visually, then I don't see why not.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Bonnie Lake says, this has been really interesting. I love watching Friday Night Freestyles. Neat to know you are involved. Very cool to hear from Tom as well.
Yes, and usually at the end.
Your mom said, how about Anna's in her freestyle? Is she talking about
the vocals? Lyrics? Yeah. So Anna sang in the World Cup Top Gun freestyle. Yep. Oh. Her walk section is her singing, because she is also a singer. And so what we did, because she was going to sing the Hold My Hand Lady Gaga song. And so we backed into it by making sure that the last piaffe and the passage that was coming before that went into that instrumentally and tapered out into that piano. And then she came in singing it. So it was all kind of connected really nicely.
Oh, that's awesome. We'll have to listen to that again. There's going to be a lot of freestyles we're going to be sharing videos to in the comments below.
Let's see the samba one again.
Yeah, I made a note about Rio, so we definitely want to find that one because you've talked about that, because that's the one that you did you compose all of that kind of from scratch, you said? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that'll be
the video if it's on YouTube, it should be on YouTube.
Yeah, we'll share that one, and obviously, any of the other ones that you really like as well. I'm not as familiar with the rider that you mentioned, Michael, but would any of his stuff be on there or is that probably too long ago?
No, I think Vanquish is somewhere. If you put my name in and then type Vanquish Michael Alberg, it may well come up. Okay. It's very old though, so I'm not sure if the video will come up. Just the music, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Much use, is it? But yeah, that one's an old one. But yeah, I think most of them are on. Most of the more high-profile stuff is on, I think, YouTube somewhere.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's on there.
Yeah,
I did just like I said.
I know. Is it USB-C?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or no, it's
oh, is it not? Okay.
It's old. It's all right. I got one in my car. Yes.
Yeah, and Helen said, would love to see some of the freestyles you've created. We will put that in the comments, and
yes, absolutely.
We'll also share if you have a good video of Anna's World Cup ride, that would be great to share too.
Yeah, I've got it on my Facebook page. I'll put the link in.
Okay. Yeah. Then they can, because I know a lot of the videos that are on they actually share them. The FEI website shares them, but then I can't find the same ones on YouTube. So sometimes you can find them on Facebook, which is nice. Then we can share them in here. So that's good.
Thankfully, the one I've got on mine, Christy Wysocki, the FEI judge, was there attending just to attend, and so she filmed the whole thing. And I was like, "Can I please use this? Thank you."
Yeah.
So that was very nice of her to let me use it on my page. But yeah.
That's awesome. I know, like Facebook and all, YouTube, they're so good at checking copyright. If I have
it's terrible.
Anytime on any Zoom or in a Facebook Live, if there's music playing, it just shuts it off because it can recognize everything, which is really annoying. But we're not making money off this. We're just trying to play it to enjoy it.
Exactly. So, well, thank you so much for having us on. I know it was last minute, but really appreciate it.
And you guys will have you starting off first thing in the morning?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
8:30 rider.
Awesome.
tomorrow morning.
Very
It's early
cool.
for music, isn't it?
It is really
It's too
fast.
early for music. Though.
Depends on the
Yeah.
music. Put on some like lo-fi, like easy morning listening.
Yeah, classical.
Yeah. So yeah, it'll be a very fun musical week. And yeah, it'll be a lot of fun, but we'll certainly keep you posted and keep you updated on any stuff that's coming out for sure.
Yeah. Share anything you guys want in the group as far as promoting what you're working on, and it'll get as much people there as we can.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you very much.
I know. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, go post some of these in the comments, and we'll get more comments tomorrow.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you,
you,
everyone.
Thank
and
you.
talk to you soon.
Have a
Bye.
good night. Bye.